Welcome home! It's Irish Family History with curious news and notes, celebrating our 6th year of this podcast at the Irish Roots Cafe, where every day's a holiday and there's always room for one more. One of 6 broadcast series from the head school at irishroots.com. I'm Mike OLaughlin, your host, publisher of rare Irish books and information on every county in Ireland since 1978. Be sure to read our blog, complete with links to click on from this podcast, and search our master index and books for free. Molly, wet the tea, Katie, bar the door, Sweeney, clear that floor, and bring out the Irish dancers. It's time we get this show on the road. Oh, yes, and it's been a very busy summertime here. I tell you, this last month has been crazy. Just got back from the Dublin Fest. I'll have I'll make that next podcast just about the Dublin Festival and the names we heard about and that sort of thing. But today we're going to talk about a county with that begins with a C. Now, what county could that be? We've actually got 3 books that have a lot of family information in there of one kind or another, each of them different, and I'm going to talk about it. It could be Clare, it could be Carlow. Some people might think it could be Kildare or Kilkenny, but those are K's. No, it's going to be County Cork. The family where your family came from. If it's Cork, you're in luck today, because we've got 3 sources. I'm going to explain it, and it's going to be helpful to people with family in other counties too. It's going to explain the Irish Family Project. Oh, okay. Before we get started. What am I going to talk about here? We've got the free podcast for everybody. We got archive podcasts for a very small fee, and we've got some member-only podcasts. And like I say, this is number 195 of the Irish Family's Irish Genealogy podcast. We also have 5 other series. We got them on language and history and history in America. So I'm telling you, you gotta get with it and check them all out if you're interested. And for some reason, the Enhanced podcast has gotten real busy this last week, and I don't know what's going on. We regularly get over 100,000 hits every month on our podcasts and blog, and but all of a sudden, the Enhanced podcast of this podcast shot up to number 2. Maybe that's because Cindy's List might have upgraded it and listed it a little bit different on there. I don't know. Cindy's List is a great place to go if you're looking for anything on the web, and there's a special thing just for podcasts on genealogy. And they have every other kind of genealogy in all the countries, and she really does a good job organizing it and putting it all together. So I'd be looking at that, and I think that's spelled Cyndi, and then of course there's an S. But hey, you look it up, you'll find it if you do a search on the web. You can find everything in the world of genealogy there. The problem is, even though it cuts things down, there's not much. There's not much he doesn't cover, and I'm telling you, it's just like anything else. It takes a day to research just your little topic if you're looking real close. So good luck with that. I hope you do follow that up. Now we're going to, let's take a small break here before we get going. Let's cover a few other things here. What do we got here today? Our County Wexford, Ireland book has been upgraded with that color map, and it's now in and shipping. And later this month, we're also going to release the upgraded County Cork Genealogy and Family History Notes books. We're going to talk about that in just a second. And, of course, that has the new detailed color map, too. So we're busy upgrading things here. You know, that Irish Families Project has a book on every single county in Ireland, plus one master book that has information on every county. And then the county books themselves get into more and more specific information. All kinds of families, thousands of pages and thousands of illustrations. It's a good deal, I think. And, like I said, we're just back from the Dublin Festival in Ohio. It was great. More on that in our next podcast. But I'm telling you something, they do treat the Irish well. And we did have an evacuation this year, too. They've got their act together. Plus, that gave us a lot of nice impromptu music there as everybody hit out in the center. But that pretty much brings you up to where we're at here at the Irish Roots Cafe. And I did something at that festival. I'm not going to tell you what, but has to do with musicianship of some sort. But that's for next week. But I'm just so excited. Oh, and we just had a gig. A matter of fact, singing Irish music. I was actually playing the electric drums. I grew up and I learned how to play the regular drums in a rock and roll garage band. And now somebody needed a drummer, and they said, hey, come on over here and try this. So after 30 years, I sat down on a set of drums that was an electric set of drums. Never saw such a thing in my life. Never played it. But it's actually pretty easy to get a hold of, and I helped them, and I've been playing at a couple of gigs for them. And last night they said, okay, you've been good to us. We're going to let you sing one. So I sang a little Rev Tu Eran Carrick, and that was great. And they asked us back. Well, they probably asked those guys back, and I'm just tagging along. But that's the last of everything that's happening here this week. Had a good time and had a gig with the musicians singing Irish music and playing the drums mainly. Okay, here, now let's get down to it. What I'm talking about today is County Cork. And what are some of our references with County Cork here, things I've published? There's plenty of information, but here's the best we've got on Irish family history. We've got the Book of Irish Families, Great and Small, which is volume 1 of the Irish Family set, the Irish Families Project, and that has family histories on every single county in Ireland. We've got several hundred that give County Cork as origins for the family and some history of the name. And then we also have several indexes in there. We have an index in that volume 1, to every single book in the series. So it's quite a deal. We even have we have it listed by Poor Law Index. You can see where they're at or what that's all about. And we tell you where the locations is for thousands of names that we couldn't put a big history in, but we could just tell you what county. So for rare names, that's good. And there's a lot from Cork in there. So that was book number 1. Book number 2 is The Families of County Cork, Ireland. And that's part of the first 6 or 7 books I did on families in Ireland. And that's a hardbound volume. And boy, it's pretty good. And that has more family history extracts. I went through, and every name that I found that said came from Cork, I've got over 1,000 names that were connected to Cork. And I put them all in that volume, and it's just County Cork. Plus, I put some early history of Cork and the settlements and where they came from, and that makes a difference, and it's just a real nice deal here. Let me take a look at this book. Here it is. I'll tell you a little bit about what's in it. I'll just read some of the contents to help you. We talk about the Norman invasion and an ancient map of Fermoy. That's a geographical division within Cork. And, of course, we list old Irish families and ancient families that were given in Keating's History of Ireland. That's another book that I have that I haven't officially listed today, but plenty in Cork there. And we also list settler families and chief seats of families of County Cork in 1741. And if that wasn't enough, we also have a little bit about the lost town of Cork, Maine. I think that's a map. And then we also have a note on the arrival of ship Sirius at New York. And then we have a Cork map, dates to about 1595, and a little note on the train coming to Mallow. And then we've got a Cork names it's like an index of death records, and it starts in the late 1500s, and that's a pretty rare source. So that gives you an idea. And of course, everything's indexed. That gives you an idea of what's in the families of County Cork, Ireland. Okay, now here the next, the third book. Now that's really what I intended this whole thing to be in the beginning, was about this volume 3, and the volume 3 in the series is it's also in the Irish Families Project, but I came out with it later, and it's spiral bound, and it's made to help you research in County Cork itself, no matter what the family name is. I introduce you to the records, I give you names and addresses. and I also give you coats of arms. Well, let's just go through my former little note here so I don't miss anything. And like I said, this is a spiral bound volume. It folds out nice and flat for all that serious research you got to do. And it's for any family in County Cork, any surname. Doesn't matter what the surname is. And that's County Cork, Ireland, Genealogy and Family History Notes. I've got a link on the blog. Now, this one is not a gigantic collection of specific families, which you might say the first two books were, but it contains information on a lot of families and gives you more of an understanding of the entire county and what's going on there. You know, if you're going to become a family history detective, you better learn about the area you're researching in. And then we've got, there's coats of arms of the leading families that are given in black and white from the original sources, you know, those herald sources. So we also might have a note or two under each arms that tells you where these families were centered that had coats of arms. And of course, most of these families weren't necessarily native Irish families. They were settlers because it was the English crown that was passing out the coats of arms. But there's a few native Irish families in there too, just to let you know. Ooh, and the map, we just added it. Now, like I was saying, we added that color map to the front cover of the County Cork book, and it's very detailed, and it's from the 1800s. And I tell you what, there's so many names on there, you might still have to use a magnifying glass, but especially if you're older like me. But I'm telling you, it's so nice when it's delineated with color. That helps you look in there and see the name a little clearer, whether you need a magnifying glass or not. And that joins about 8 other books that we have added these color maps to. So it makes a difference. And hey, the Cork one, this one right here we've been talking about, that's going to ship around the end of the month with the new map right there on the cover. So it's a real good one. And now, you know what, we should talk a little bit about County Cork and what might be different about it. But you know, there's no county that's quite like County Cork. It's got an amazingly big mix of people with a history of sea peoples, and the Vikings made at least 2 separate settlements there. And even more action in modern times with all the freight and the shipping and the immigration and all the people that left from Cork from all parts of Ireland. And they have a distinctive accent and a dance and music, of course. What county doesn't? I remember on one of my first trips to Ireland, the kids would come out into the living room and they might play a piece on the piano or they might sing a song. Oh gosh, they might even dance. But the one came in one day and said, "Here, I've got a new one," and had a little recitation about, "Oh, my name is so-and-so, and I'm from Cork, and I do this and I do that because I'm from Cork." And of course, these were Clare people, so I'm thinking there's a little rivalry there. But every county's unique, you know, and Cork is definitely no exception. I can't even count the number of people as well who think or are just quite sure that they had 3 brothers in their family tree that came from Cork. Now, of course, they may have lived in another county and just caught the boat in Cork. Might have stayed in Cork for a while and earned some money and jumped on the boat. But no matter, they consider themselves a family from Cork, of course, and maybe that's the only name that began with C that they could remember. And they really came from Clare or Carlow. More likely Clare. Carlow didn't have that many people. But hey, one more important note on County Cork research. You should know it if you've been around for a while. Queenstown is a port from which many people are listed as leaving from in County Cork when they got on the ship to come abroad. But that Queenstown is really today known as Cove, and that's spelled C-O-B-H. So be aware of those name changes. Of course, that denotes a political change, changing from Queenstown to Cove. But on modern-day maps, you're going to see Cove, and on those old maps or old records, a lot of time you're going to see Queenstown. And they're both from Cork. They're both the very same town. Be aware of it. It's just like name changes. Some of the spellings can change, but in this case, the whole name changed. So remember, County Cork's Genealogy and Family History Notes books is this last one we're talking about. And here's the parts I've got together with that. Well, part Part 1 of County Cork Genealogy and Family History Notes has a national and county resource list with addresses and names from Cork found in other resources, along with a map that denotes the baronies in Cork, which is very helpful. You want to find the county, and then if you're serious and a little tricky, you might want to find the barony within the county that it came from. That could help you research some real old records based on baronies. Remember that. And Part 2 is the complete existing returns from the census of 1659, as in most of those books in the entire series have that. And it shows the old way of spelling many names and gives the barony of location for Irish clans specifically. And it also gives some specific names of leading individuals. I think they list them as titulados in that. Titulados, what a fine name. And hey, we also include a list of nobles from centuries past in that Part 2. Now in Part 3, we have that illustration and notes on families with coats of arms that are connected to the county in some way. And that all comes from the Irish Book of Arms. And Part 4, we have the Place Names Index of Cork. I'll talk about that a little more. And we have pedigrees on several families, and I'll give you those pedigrees that are included there too. Just a minute. Well, Part 4 of that includes the names pedigree notes. Most of these, I think, will come from O'Hart, but pedigree notes on the families of Connell and Haley and McAuliffe and McCarthy, Kelleher, O'Callahan, Cotter, O'Hay, O'Sullivan, O'Hurley, O'Keefe, Barry, Healy, O'Murphy, and McSweeney. And we follow that with a list of surnames that are given on the map of the Four Masters for County Cork, Ireland. And that's the map that's in our book on the Annals of Ireland by the Four Masters. The map folds out in the back of the Volume 2, I believe it is. And boy, it's a nice one. Maybe it's Volume 1, but it's with the set, and it's really a good one. It's the first major surname map ever done, and County Cork is definitely included. There was plenty of folks there to be noted and registered. Now, I'll make a little note on the place names. You know, you look at the place name index there, and you say, well, I know the town, or maybe you don't. But here's one point that might be overlooked by a lot of people. A lot of place names are found in more than one county. While you take the name of Ballyregan or Ballyregain, you're going to find it in Down, and you're going to find it in Cork as a townland. And you look at a name like Ballyrobert, you're going to find it in Antrim and Cork and Down and Waterford. So sometimes you might have the name of a townland and think you know the county. This is just in one of those serious cases you can look and say, wait a minute, that townland is in more than one county. How about Ballytray? That's in Cork and Wexford. Heck, there's how many more we got here? I can't even count them all. There's, here, Ballylynch in Cork and Kilkenny. That's the tip for the day. Okay, quickly now, I'm going to have here today's Magnificent Seven. We're a little bit out of order, but that's okay. We're getting ready to redo things for our big podcast number, 200 for the Irish Family one? Yeah, that's coming up soon. But here what we got. Raise our eyes and give thanks. Here are today's Magnificent Seven. Jerome Casey of Paris, France, Your Annals of Ireland, Book of Arms and History of Ireland by Keating has shipped. Number 2, welcome member Mary Beth Delaney of Warwick, New York. McElhinney, looking for the origin of that name, and she says, my own family was from Ballynamuck in County Longford, and Ballynamuck was settled by those who fled the north in the 1600s, and we know that was a terrible time in Ireland. Number 3, William Duncan of Turlough, Australia. Welcome as a member, researching the Lone family in County Down in the 1830s. Number 4, welcome new member Mary Eckhart of Tasmania. Number 5, welcome new member Christine Crow of Camera, Australia. Number 6, welcome new gold member Deborah Jones of La Habra Heights, California. your County Armagh book has shipped. Number 7, William McCrory of Floral Park, New York, your Scottish Max and Book of Irish Families, Great and Small, have shipped. Number 8, Robert A. Brown of Assinet, Massachusetts, your County Antrim Genealogy and Family History Notes and Irish Families have shipped. Boy, we had some good customers there all over the world again. That still just knocks me out. I think that's great. And hey, remember, check out our online search list on the webpage. You can go in there and type in your name and see who else might be searching. And I wanted to say thank you to all of our members like I do every single time, because without you, there would be no podcast, there would be no books, there wouldn't be anything at all here. And boy, we'd be missing you after all these years. You know that we've got that 34-set book, one for each county and a couple for duplicating counties. That's more than a book a year, and you've helped us do that. And we need your help. We need your buying the books. We need you listening to the podcast. We need you spreading the word. And I want to tell you, thanks a whole lot. And it seems like there was one other thing I had to say. Oh, and that was all you new members. Don't forget, if you want to get some attention, like I said, we've got 100,000 people that tune in every month, either on the podcast or the blog. And gosh, I think we're in the millions as far as the total year for hitting all those pages. If you want to leave your search on my phone recorder, my voice recorder, you just call that and you call in and say, hey, here's my search. If anybody has any help, contact me and either leave a contact email or say contact Mike for the current email address, or I can contact for you. But leave your search and I'll put it on there. And boy, I tell you, that's going to run forever and ever. So you might get that big break. And don't forget that. That's important. Leave it on my recorder. That's all for today, folks. Joseph, warm up those pipes. Remember, we have a broadcast series on Irish song and recitation, on local history of the Irish in America, and on 2,000 years of Irish history, as well as on the counties, and something special coming up on Irish language, I hope. We've got all that and more at our head school at irishroots.com. And you know, we've been known to appear, exhibit, teach, and even sing for your special events. Be sure to book in advance if it's important, and write me at my American address at Irish Roots Cafe, Box 7575, Kansas City, Missouri, 64116. Leave a message by phone at 816-256-3360. Reach me on my webpage at irishroots.com. Skype me at the Irish Roots Cafe. Get me on MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, and Irish Central. Members foot the bill so they get first priority, but we're open to all. And by the way, a big thank you to all of our members. And away.